To make sure this channel wasn't just Skyrim playthroughs, I wanted to have the next video be about Fallout New Vegas. Also, I recently bought a Yeti Snowball microphone, and I have to say I absolutely love it. The sound quality is way better than my old headset mic that I've been using for the last 5.5 years. For reference, this is the old microphone. For this challenge, I decided to see if I can beat Fallout New Vegas as Sweeney Todd. And yes, I know I spelled it wrong, I just didn't realize till it was too late. I'm not the kind of person who enjoys plays or musicals very much, and yet the Sweeney Todd movie with Johnny Depp is the one and only musical that I actually enjoy. Maybe it's just because I saw it when I was still an edgy 15-year-old, or maybe it's just because I love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Who knows? I tried my best to get my character as close to the man as possible, but there wasn't really a hairstyle that was big enough, nor was there an option to have a white streak in my hair, but still I thought it was pretty good. If you haven't seen the musical, Sweeney Todd is basically just a barber who kills people and turns them into meat pies to feed them to the public. So the only weapon I'm going to be using is a straight razor, and don't worry, the cannibalism part will come into play in due time. In retrospect, I should have put more points into charisma and tagged speech, since I remember Mr. Todd being pretty manipulative, if not just a bit of a smooth talker. That, and I should have restricted what I could have worn to just a black suit, but again I realized these things on the latter half of the run, and I didn't want to restart the whole recording, but I'll definitely do better with that sort of thing next time. Before starting the run, I wrote down the special stats that I wanted, as well as my tag skills, traits, and a general idea of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And here are my special stats for the run. I was somehow able to stand up when you're supposed to be sat down on the couch while Doc Mitchell gives you a psych evaluation. I don't know how I did this, and I haven't been able to repeat it, but someone else has probably already experienced this, right? I chose melee weapons, speech, and unarmed as my tag skills. I could have sworn I didn't pick speech, so I guess just ignore what I said before about that. And I decided on skilled, since I wanted to get the free extra skill points when leaving Goodsprings, and Wild Wasteland, because why not? Leaving Doc Mitchell's house, I dump everything I even suspect was given to me by DLC on the ground, since all that would be a little bit unfair. I also take a good look at my character now that I'm finally out in that old Mojave sun. I make my way to Chet's to sell everything I won't be using, that being all my ammo and any weapons that aren't my straight razor. I've heard that Chet can sometimes sell straight razors, but I think I've only ever been able to buy one off of him. Thankfully you can get 2 fully repaired razors for free when confronting Benny's guards at the tops. Remembering I can get some XP and chems up at Doc Mitchell's house, I head straight back up to fix up the 9mm machine gun and cook up some stim packs. I find Sunny Smiles in the Goodsprings saloon and attempt to give the bottles a haircut, but I soon find out the bottles don't actually have hair. Man, that bullet did a lot. Instead I just shoot them with the varmint rifle. Glass bottles aren't alive, and the main aspect of the challenge is to give people deadly haircuts, so I'll excuse this. Immediately rushing into the saloon and slaughtering Joe Cobb, I seal my fate with the powder gangers and prepare to save the town. After agreeing to help Ringo fend off the powder gangers, I get Sunny Smiles' assistance with the matter, as well as Trudy and Doc Mitchell. I don't think anyone has ever struggled with the 5 or 6 powder gangers that assault the town, even without anyone's help. That is to say, I make quick work of the dynamite fetishists terrorizing Goodsprings. After dealing with them, I level up and take the Swift Learner perk, hopefully to offset the effects of the skilled trait. After Ringo gives me a handful of caps, I sell off all the loot I got from the powder gangers to Chet before making my way to Prim. On the way out of the town, I take the skilled trait again, which if you didn't know, the skill points given by the trait don't go away if you choose to rebuild your character. Basically meaning you can either switch it out for a more useful perk while keeping the extra 5 points to every skill, or get 10 points instead while only suffering the same minus 10% XP. If any of you would like to see the full unedited footage, I'd be happy to upload it, but I probably won't put it on this channel. I would most likely just have a second channel for things like that. Having spent almost 500 hours in the Mojave, I head straight to rescuing Beagle from the escaped convicts. Really, the only one that gives me any real trouble is the leader and his incinerator. After speaking with the deputy, I hand over the job of protecting the town to the best possible option, Prim Slim. After this, I level up and take the road up to the Mojave outpost, which will be the main source of repairs for my incredibly brittle weapon. For reference, the 9mm pistol is double the item health of the regular straight razor. That's right, I said regular straight razor. There is in fact a unique variant called Figaro, which can be found being used by Sergio, who works as the barber for the kings. As well as doing slightly more damage than the standard barber blade, it also has slightly more durability. Thankfully, the razor is relatively cheap to repair, only needing 60 caps to repair it to full from about 14%. I repair my armor since I'm already here before being told by Ranger Jackson to take out some ants down the hill. I also talk with Ranger Ghost, who is completely lying here by the way, to get the quest to check out what happened at Nipton. Killing ants is as easy as ever in New Vegas. I don't know if it's just because they pop like that or what, but it's surprisingly satisfying. I level up and almost max out my melee weapon skill while also taking the cannibal perk, which will come in very handy later. Instead of going straight back to the Mojave outpost, I make my way to Nipton to scout out the town for Ranger Ghost so that I can turn in both quests at once. Also, it's about time I tell you that I'm going to be siding with Caesar for this run. Now, the fight with Legate Lanius definitely isn't the most difficult fight in the game, but trying to fend him off along with his guards isn't really something I expect to be able to do with just a flimsy piece of steel, and I didn't want to just cheese it with a maxed out speech skill either. Alerting Ranger Ghost of the fate of the Nipton townsfolk, I also let Sergeant Kilborn know what happened to the town for the extra XP. I mark Boulder City on the map since I intend to resolve the situation between the cons and the NCR held out in the city. I felt like it was a good idea to do as much as possible on the way to the Strip to get on the NCR's good side, hopefully to increase my rep with them enough to not cause any problems when assassinating President Kimball. But when I actually attempted it, I had some really weird issues that caused the NCR soldiers at the dam to turn hostile if I got too close to them. I never had gotten that far with Caesar's questline before, so maybe it's supposed to be like that, but it seemed really weird since I thought the NCR disguise was supposed to eliminate any issues regarding a low reputation with the NCR. Arriving at Boulder City, I speak with Lieutenant Monroe about what's going on between them and the Great Khans, and I make my way to the building where Jessup is hiding. After failing to convince him to surrender, I level up at probably the most convenient time possible. I spent this level increasing the speech skill to 45 so I can talk him down, along with taking the confirmed bachelor perk for the extra damage to male opponents. I return to Lieutenant Monroe to let him know things between his troops and the cons have been put to rest right before I begin my journey to the New Vegas Strip. If you're wondering as to why it's suddenly nighttime, it's just because I fast traveled to the Mojave outpost to sell off the weapons and armor I looted from the jackal gangs that attacked me on my way to Boulder City. Almost as soon as I enter Freeside, I have to fend off the random meth heads wandering around town. I made a beeline straight for the Kings to finally get my hands on Figaro, the unique straight razor I mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, you can't actually pickpocket it off the guy holding it, and I wasn't aware of any kind of quest you need to complete to get Figaro peacefully, so I just snuck up behind him and used a stealth critical to take him out without anyone else noticing. I decided to make use of my 10 points of luck and started gambling at the Atomic Wrangler to meet the 2,000 cap requirement to enter the Strip. I wanted to get my hands on the platinum chip as soon as possible, so I entered the tops and spoke with Benny. He told me to go to the presidential suite, and letting him believe he had set me up and not the other way around, I made my way there right before one of the most obvious ambushes in gaming history. The extra straight razors I looted off of his now dead bodyguards were pretty nice, but I don't think I ever used them to repair Figaro. Volpes gives me the mark of Caesar, and I accept his invitation to the fort. I spent a little time around the Strip gathering XP and completing a few quests before fast traveling to Nipton since it was the closest fast travel point to Cottonwood Cove. After making it to the cove, I speak with Cursu Lucullus and arrive at the fort. Never before have I struggled so much to not go straight back to the gunrunners and atomize him with a mini nuke. I wanted to spend as few videos fighting for this balding cancerous monster, but seeing as how I'm playing as a cannibalistic murderer, I doubt he would fight for peace or neutrality in the Mojave. Caesar tells me to destroy the contents of the bunker sat below his tent, but I don't want to have any problems with Mr. House before I'm sent to kill him. The Protectrons aren't any trouble, but the Mark IV turrets tear through my leather armor, and since I have to get up close to destroy them, the explosion they let off on death breaks more than a few of my limbs. I upgrade the Securitrons and report back to Caesar. Even though he talks so highly of himself, he doesn't think to send anyone down to confirm I even told him the truth. After killing Benny in the arena, I'm told to eliminate Mr. House for the good of the Legion, and I do so immediately. The Securitrons attempting to defend him barely do anything, even with their Mark II operating software. It didn't even look like they were trying to use the grenade and missile launchers that they now have access to. After dicing up the vegetable I found under the Lucky 38, I level up and take the Finesse perk for the extra crit chance. At this point, I started hard focusing on the Legion's questline, with it taking me first to the Boomers to either destroy them or form a temporary alliance to aid us in taking control of Hoover Dam. On my way to Nellis Air Force Base, I stopped by the New Vegas Medical Clinic to buy some implants. I decided on the Agility and Strength implants. Sadly, the Agility implant was kinda just a waste since I only wanted those points in Agility so I could get the Slayer perk for the extra 30% attack speed. But I never even got the chance to grab that perk since I finished the game at level 14. Ignoring George, I take the same path through the Boomer's bombardment that I always have before speaking with Pearl about how I can help. Right after I fixed up all the injured Boomers, I creepily watched a child from the corner of the room and repaired the solar panels, which sets me up nicely to raise up the lady in the lake so the Legion has their help in assaulting the dam. Reporting back to Caesar, he tells me to win over the white gloves over on the strip right before his tumor flares up. This is where that cannibal perk will finally come in handy. I also started losing rep with the NCR, with enough lost rep causing them to shoot me on sight, effectively revoking my right to get my weapons and armor repaired at the Mojave outpost. After Marjorie refuses to ally with the Legion, I ask Mortimer the same question and reveal to him that I'm a cannibal too, and that I'd love to help reform their society back to their old ways of dining on that ever-elusive long pork. After killing Ted Gunderson, I take some blood samples from him and head to his father's room to spread them around so I can frame him for the murder of his own son. Reporting Heck Gunderson to the Securitron outside the casino, it enters the Ultralux to bring him to justice, but Heck had the genius idea to resist arrest against a giant missile-firing death robot. I think we all know how well that went for him. Winning Marjorie over with the power of cannibalism, she tells me they will side with Caesar. Caesar is glad to hear this news, and he sends me to eliminate the Brotherhood of Steel and destroy their bunker that lies within Hidden Valley. I didn't feel like using any sort of sneakiness or diplomacy, and just came out the gate swinging. I hadn't actually picked up the Piercing Strike perk yet, and that really hampered my damage output. It didn't help that their Gauss rifles absolutely tore through my leather armor either. Needless to say, the destruction of the Brotherhood involved a lot of beating people in metal fursuits while they laid around on the ground. Making my way through the bunker, it was here that I realized just how underprepared I really was. Paladin Ramos has a weirdly small amount of health for being a part of a mid to late game faction, even more so seeing as how he's a named character and a paladin. I collect each of the 3 key cards required to set off the self-destruct sequence, and sign off on the absolute obliteration of the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. After making it out of the base, I fast traveled to the Gunrunners to sell off the loot I gathered, and bought myself a set of reinforced Mark II combat armor. After which I tell Caesar that the job is done, and heal up the tumor in his brain using my 10 points in luck. The current and penultimate objective is to assassinate President Kimball. I tried again and again, but I kept having this weird issue where as soon as I would get near anyone around the dam, they would immediately turn hostile and I would fail the quest. At a certain point, I just rigged the gun beside the stage and waited for it to go boom. I level up for the last time and choose the Piercing Strike perk. The Legate says some edgy stuff about Mars, and we start our assault on the Hoover Dam. The NCR forces defending the dam end up leaving me with more health than I started with, since most of them drop a stim pack, and any legion they killed usually had healing powder in their inventory. After watching the boomers perform a bombing run over the battlefield, I head inside the legion's checkpoint, at which point the game decided to kill the cinematic atmosphere and crashes the game as soon as I came close to the legionary holding out inside. Thankfully, the game doesn't crash a second time, and I'm actually allowed to play the game. Weirdly enough, I've never really had many issues while playing New Vegas on PC, the only exception being if I tried installing too many mods. The game crashed so many times here, with most of them being towards the end when you actually head inside the dam. It was about 4 in the morning when I was recording this, so the repeated crashes were starting to get the better of me. At a certain point, I went up to use the bathroom, and when I came back, I forgot to unpause the recording, causing me to have to replay everything once you speak with General Oliver behind all those energy shields. Having both the Piercing Strike and the Super Slam perk makes the NCR Heavy Troopers a complete non-issue. I wanted to snatch the power armor off their corpses to use as an emergency piece of armor in case my current armor breaks down mid-battle. I immediately rushed down to the second level of the dam, which is where I'm switching over to the second recording. The only reason for that is just because it's where both recordings lined up best. This one NCR heavy trooper with the missile launcher turned my legs to spaghetti twice over before fiddling around with his weapons and eventually getting himself killed. Oliver sends his men after me, and to be honest, the act of overpowering an established military force wielding missile launchers, anti-material rifles, and super sledges with just a tiny piece of shaving equipment is pretty satisfying. The fight with Oliver and his men goes a lot quicker now that I know to take out the heavy troopers with the hunting shotguns first, since that'll cause the ones with super sledges to pick them up, making it much easier to kill them since they lose their ability to block. I feel terrible about taking so long to get this video out for you guys, but with being called into work to cover my coworkers' shifts and taking care of my fiance ever since she tore the ligaments in her knee, I've had very little time to spend editing these last couple weeks. And with that, I can finally say, yes, you can beat Fallout New Vegas as Sweeney Todd. Playing through the game for this video was actually extremely fun. It was just the editing that took forever for me to get done. I'm not sure if I want the next video to be in Skyrim or Fallout 4. I don't really want to put out another Skyrim video so close to my last one, but I don't really enjoy Fallout 4 very much. I find it difficult to finish the main story of the game, mostly due to generally how unsatisfying the leveling system is, as well as the general lack of player choice. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. See ya later, goobers.